بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How many of you know who I am? You've seen me before. That's good. Alhamdulillah. Oh, Adam, take the extension cord from Am. Shukran, Am. Bismillah. Okay. So today's topic. My name is Ali, by the way. Let's not forget that. Okay. So today's topic is about empowering the youth. Right? Empowering the youth. The interesting thing about this topic is that there is no direct way to actually accomplish this. Why? Because everybody's nafs and heart is different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created every individual unique, and that every single individual has their own certain amount that they can tolerate within religion and faith and dunya and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like eating. Some people can eat a lot, some people can eat very little. It depends on how the individual can digest their food, right? Some people like spicy food, some people like salty food or sweet food. Some people can't eat a lot of spicy food, some people can't eat a lot of sweet food. So every single individual has their own tolerance for things. And in that same sense, everybody has their own amount of spirituality or the amount of deen that they can withhold within themselves. And if you push too far, the individual may go away from deen, or out of piety may turn against the deen itself and begin to remove themselves from parts of the deen out of piety. And that's always a risk. But the topic today that I'm going to be focusing on is going to be more related upon your daily schedule and how you look upon religion itself and how you look upon faith itself, and how it is relatable to you and how you value it. And I'm going to first begin by describing Yawm al-Qiyamah. But specifically on Yawm al-Qiyamah, I'm going to describe the waiting stage. There are different stages to Yawm al-Qiyamah. There's the part where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is judging the individuals. There's a part where the people are rising out of their graves and rising into the heavens. And this particular part is the part where people are waiting. Many of us do not specifically know or not given the proper knowledge of how Yawm al-Qiyamah looks, the waiting area specifically, where you are waiting. And alhamdulillah, we do have evidence of what it does look like. And the Rasul ﷺ did describe it to us, and the ulama relate it to us. It is said that everybody is resurrected in this great basin, where with red sand. And with the red sand, it's like this. Obviously, it's not like the pure color red, but it's like sand red. And the sun is beating down on the backs of the people, and it's very hot. And of course, there are certain people who are under the shade on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that's a separate discussion, right? That could be like its own like our lecture itself. But for the sake of this little halaqah, I'm going to stick just to the description of waiting. It is said that the people are lost, thirsty, you're hungry, like you're lost. Have you ever been like hungry and lost and hot at the same time? Like you're at the park and you've been running around a lot and you're just dizzy. And you're told to and you're just dropped in the middle of nowhere and you're told to find your way back home. You won't be able to because your mind is completely shut down. And this in itself is what people feel. You can imagine yourself as if you were dropped in the middle of the desert and you were told to find your way back home. This is very close to how that waiting feels on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Very close. With the little things off. One of the things on Yawm al-Qiyamah is that everybody's naked. Nobody has any clothing. At least for the beginning part when everybody's waiting. And people are wandering around. I'm going to get back to the naked part in a bit, because there's hikmah behind it. And everybody's wandering around and everybody's lost. Everybody's panicking. Some people have a book in their left hand, some have it in their right hand. You will see people begging for hasanat and begging for people to help them out and try to save them and all this kind of stuff, and you'll get really freaked out and you'll be really concerned. It is impossible for you not to feel anxious. And now I'm going to stop the description here because I'm going to get back to it later, and it's going to be important for the second part of this. A few weeks ago, I had a brother who came to me and he asked me, Ali, how do you gain sincerity in salat? And I know this sounds like a tangent, but believe me, it's directly relatable to this topic. He said, how do you gain khushu' in your salat? How do you gain khushu' in your a'mal, in your actions? Is there a direct way for you to do it? And I told him there is no direct way. However, I can give you some advice on how to go about finding that direct way, and that will change not even just your salat, your entire deen itself. And I told him and I described to him 3 understandings that you must have. And I want you to remember these for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. Right? On Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask you, if you listen to Ali, on what day is it today? April 29th, Friday, at 8:22 p.m. He's going to say, at 8:22 p.m., Ali told you 3 understandings. Did you listen to them? Okay? The first of those understandings, I told him, you must understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in no need of you. But rather you are in need of Him. That is the first understanding. And he's told me, how does that work in salat? When in salat, when you're going about your day, how do you think of your salat? Do you think of your salat as something that's like in the way? Or like, do you think like, you're looking at the watch, you're like, I gotta pray salat al-asr at like 3 o'clock. Dang, and I can't even go out with my friends or something like that. And that's immediately coming into your mind. Some people think of it as a nuisance. Some people say, the key word is, I have to go to salat. Have is the key word here. Have. As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs you to go to salat. You don't have to go to salat. In fact, most of you don't even have to pray yet. Until you reach the age of puberty. Many of you don't have to pray. Right? It's considered nafilah for you. However, it's beloved for you to pray. So saying that you have to go to salat is in itself saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs you. When here's the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need you. He does not need you one bit. In fact, you're worthless. You're absolutely worthless. You mean nothing. You mean absolutely nothing. People will come and they'll say, I'm a doctor of medicine, or I have a PhD in physics, and they'll say like I have a PhD in some subject that you've never heard of, and they'll wear suits and they'll have nice cars and expensive things, and they'll have like the craziest iPhones that you've ever seen, and their hoverboards will actually hover, right? And like you're like, wow, this guy really has his life together, and he himself thinks like he really has his life together, and he's in fact floating on a cloud of Jannah. And he prances into the masjid, and he's so happy, he just drops down a stack of bills and says, this is my donation. And he makes sure that everybody sees him. When in fact, all of your graves are the same exact size. When in fact, everybody comes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala naked. The reason why you're naked on Yawm al-Qiyamah is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make a point. That you're all just human beings. That you're all worth nothing in comparison to Him. That's the point. So when you're saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you, and in fact you need Him, that's a feeling that you have to have in your heart. That you need to come to prayer. That you need to come to prayer. Why do you need to come to prayer? Because on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when you're standing there and you're in that basin and you're scared, and there's red sand all around you and it's hot, and people are panicking, people are freaking out, everybody's going crazy, everybody's going nuts. Nobody knows what to do. Everybody's freaking out, and nobody has any idea what the heck is going on. People are lost. People are wandering, and they're looking around, and they're asking like, "Hey, can I have just like a quick like hasana, just really quick? Can I borrow one?" And you yourself are like, "No, leave me alone." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, What in the Quran? He says it's the day in which the mothers will run away from their own children. Right? People will run away from their own family. Your mom will not help you. Your dad will not help you. Nobody will help you. You are literally alone and worthless. You're worthless. And you're going to be like, Ali, you're like making me feel terrible. This is important. For empowering yourself, you must first break down yourself to the point where you're just merely dust. And then you build yourself back up into something that's better. And that's one of the goals of this presentation, inshallah. This little halaqah. So everybody's panicking, right? But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends, you see out of nowhere, out of all of this cloud of uncertainty and anxiety, you see a beautiful face just appear out of nowhere. Like literally the most beautiful face you've ever seen in your life. And he's dressed in the most beautiful clothing you've ever seen. Everybody else is naked, this dude is dressed. And he comes to you and he's smiling. He's smiling and you're like, wow, this guy looks amazing. Who is this guy? And he comes to you and he's like, listen, it's okay, I got you. Don't worry. Just relax. Just calm down. All right? Everything is going to be okay. You have no reason to freak out. And you're like, who the heck are you? Do you not see what's going around? What are you talking about? Who are you? And he says, I am your salat. I am your salat. You prayed during the dunya. I am here to come for you in the akhirah. And then another one comes. And he's like, another beautiful face comes. And you're like, who are you? And he's like, I am Islam. I am the deen, I am the religion that you protected in the dunya. When people were denouncing me, you went out and you spoke and protected me. You defended me. And now I'm going to defend you. And more beautiful faces come along. Siyam, Quran, they all just come up. You're like, wow, squad is here. Right? You're really excited. Right? Everybody's here, like, yes. Right? And you're walking around and you're so happy and you're just like, okay, this day is going to be all right. This is going to be okay, right? My whole squad is here. My whole team is here. And pretty soon enough, you have like a crowd of people around you, and you're just like, yeah, I made it. Yeah, I have everything that I could ever need. This is why you make salat. You see, the thing about salat is that we're exclusive. The Muslims are exclusive. You have other faiths where people need to have somebody intercede for them in their prayer. They need to go and say, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And they need to go inside of a box and describe how they have sinned, and the Father decides if his sins are forgiven or not. There are people who have to go to who have to sacrifice different animals and different creatures and have to go smear the blood on something and pray to different stones and try to see if their life will be determined that way. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you something different. He gave you the opportunity to speak to Him directly. Why? Because you need Him. When you go to salat, you need salat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't even have the ability to be grateful for salat, guess what He can do? You're not grateful? Khalas, I'll take your faith and give it to somebody else who actually will deserve it and actually will be grateful for it, who will actually take care of it. And that's the second understanding. The first understanding is understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs you and you do not need Him. The second is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you and you need Him. Good job, guys. Keeping track. That's good. The second understanding is what? Is that this deen is a privilege and not a right. And how so? You know that salat itself is a gift to you. Everything in your faith is a gift to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you. You're unique. You're different. Of the billions of people in the world, you are one of the select few who were able to follow His religion and the sunnah of His Prophet ﷺ to its purest form. You are the people who are going to uphold this faith at its foundations. You are the people who are going to hold up moral standards in the world. That is the nation of Islam. That is the Muslim, not the nation of, not that sect, but the Muslims, the nation of the Muslims, the ummah of the Muslims. They are responsible for the entire world. of maintaining the world and protecting this world from all of the injustices, from all of the incorrect beliefs, from everything that seems to plague the hearts of the believers and the non-believers. We are responsible for making this world better. He chose you. You know how you watch the movies like the Avengers and Justice League, and you see all those heroes and you're wondering like, wow, man, I wish I was Spider-Man, or I wish I knew Spider-Man, or something like that. You're the Avengers. You're the Avengers in the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose people before you. In fact, He chose people before you. He chose people before you that believed that they were the chosen ones, and they themselves were not gracious enough to accept the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need them. They were not gracious or thankful for anything that they were given. In fact, when the message came after them, when the second message came after Isa, what did they say? They said, why would he come from the Arabs? He should have came from us. Of course, I'm talking about Bani Israel. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Bani Israel. He says, oh Bani Israel, I favored you over the rest of mankind. I favored you. I gave you everything. And what did you do? You were never grateful. So you know what I did? I took the faith from you. I took the thing that you thought you were chosen for, and I gave it to people who would actually appreciate it. I gave it to people who would actually bend down and pray 5 times a day. I gave it to people who would actually pray and fight for the Rasul ﷺ, and fight to uphold the book that I sent down upon them. Do you know how people say like I'm a hafiz of the Quran, or like I'm a hafiz of the Quran, right? They'll say that. People think it's about memorization, but it's not. It's about protecting the Quran and preserving it. Back in the day, there were no written books. So actually, if you memorize the Quran, your job was literally to protect its words. And if you died, it was a huge problem. It was a very big problem. Because you were a valuable resource. You were important. You were what the mu'mineen needed for them to preserve the Quran. You were chosen by Allah to preserve the Quran. This is what we need to do. We need to begin to step up into our roles. None of this dilly-dallying, I don't know, whatever that terminology is. None of that like messing around anymore. Sitting in front of your Xbox all day. I'm not trying to bash Xbox. I was pretty decent at Halo back in the day. But and COD and all that. But in all honesty, are you going to take any of that to your grave? On Yawm al-Qiyamah, are you going to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, yo, my kill streak was my kill streak was like a 12, I got like a nuke, and my kill to death ratio was like 5.0 and all this kind of stuff? Nobody's going to care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Everything that you do here, everything that you think that you take pride in, really doesn't matter. It really does not matter. What does matter is what you carry with you in your salat. And the third understanding, what were the first 2 understandings? Go.
The first one was that Allah doesn't need you, but you need Him.
Okay, yeah? And what's the second one?
Um, the second one.
Okay, go.
The second one is that praying is a privilege, not a right.
Yes. Why is it a privilege and not a right? Because if you don't appreciate it, if you don't appreciate your deen, guess what happens? You lose it. You lose it. And if you need an example, go look at the Jews. That's it. If you need an example, go read Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created an example for you right here in this dunya. If you need an example, go look at the Christians. Astaghfirullah, they've completely flip-flopped on their deen. Some days they'll go like, we accept homosexuals in our church. The other days they'll go like, they're like, no, we don't want them. And they try to bend the rules too much. To the point where they no longer have a deen. They moved around their days of fasting. They chose what parts of fasting they want and what parts of fasting they didn't want. But guess who kept their deen solid? Guess who kept their deen in the middle? Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Right? The Muslims, they kept their deen right in the middle. Because we know that this world is just temporary. that everything here is just an illusion. That the doctors and the engineers and everything like that, and I'm not trying to say like, don't be a doctor, don't be an engineer. That's very important that you do become and you do strive to be the top of our society. But at the same time, don't use that as an excuse for you to feel better than anybody else. When you're empowering yourself, part of the empowerment is to not look down upon others. That's part of our deen, to not look down upon others. And when you have the first two understandings, you're ready for the third understanding. And the third understanding is what? Being thankful. Being thankful. Because out of all the people in the world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to stand in these lines, in these rows of salat, and to pray to Him in the right way. In the right way. He could have given it, He could have given it to anyone else. But He saw something in you, and He knew something in you that was special. That you were different than everybody else. That you were a completely different individual. That you were special in a way that you would raise this deen and raise the status of this deen. And that you would continue the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So when you're waiting on Yawm al-Qiyamah and you're in front of all those, like in that heat and that hot weather, right? It's said that the sun is so close to the ground on that day, and that an hour is like over 50,000 years. I believe 60,000 years. Excuse me. And just an hour. Can you imagine? Like you can't even stay in the hot sun. Have you ever tried to step on like the pavement on a hot summer day barefoot? Or when you get out of the pool and you're like, and like run to your house. It's hot. It's like really hot. Imagine standing on it for 20,000 years. Or more. 30,000 or 40,000 or 50,000 or 60,000. You can't. Right? But when there's people who are there to comfort you and to cool down everything around you and to make it peaceful for you. Or when you're under the shade and you're enjoying the peaceful shade as you watch everybody else wandering lost, not knowing what to do. That is a difference between a mu'min, a Muslim, who takes his deen seriously in this dunya and does not use it as an excuse, but rather uses it to raise his or her status. That's the true definition of a Muslim. It was said that Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, it was said that in his salat, he was unmatched. He was unmatched. He was so pure in his salat, it was incredible to watch. People were in awe of how he used to pray. And it was said that he did the same exact thing when he went to work. When he went to go work, he was a trader. He used to knock out the competition. He was so good at it. Why? Because Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu understood that there are two parts to this deen. There's of course the part in which you are praying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but there's also the part in which you are working for the ummah, in which you are working to better your life and the life of your family and the life of your ummah. So when you come to these halaqas, your intention shouldn't be just to sit here because your mom and dad made you. Because guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you just that reward. Just the fact that you were here. If you came here forced, khalas, it'll be noted that you came here forced. But if you came here because you wanted to learn something of this deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you according to that. It is said, a majlis of fiqh. Majlis of fiqh, do you guys know what fiqh means? Islamic law. People teaching you how to pray and make wudu and all that kind of stuff, and how to give zakat and how to get married and all of that good stuff. It is said that is better than praying. That is better than praying Salat al-Tahajjud on the rock in which the Rasul ﷺ went up to Jerusalem. Went up to the heavens. From Jerusalem went up to the heavens. It is better than praying Salat al-Tahajjud on Laylat al-Qadr. It is better than praying Salat al-Tahajjud on Laylat al-Qadr. Think about that. Think about how important a majlis of fiqh is. It is said that a majlis of Quran in which you're taught how to read Quran and how to recite Quran is better than the worship of 20 years. 1,000 rak'ahs. 1,000 rak'ahs is better than praying 1,000 rak'ahs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you rewards out of nowhere. And He helps you in any way He possibly can. But when you keep the purest of intentions, that is noted and that is helped out. But when you come with a crappy intention, with a terrible intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a terrible reward. He gives you exactly what you want. He does not give you any more. He leaves you right there in the dust. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you. And in fact, you need Him. So when I told this to the brother, he really liked it. He thought that he felt like, he came back to me and he said, I took this advice and wallahi, like, it changed my deen. It changed how I looked at things. He said, but he said, like, you still didn't answer my question though. I said, what was your question? He came like 2 weeks later. He said, what was your question exactly? He said, how do I gain khushu' in my salat? So I described to him what I described to you on Yawm al-Qiyamah, just that little feeling of waiting. And I told him, imagine you're in that whole like commotion. Nobody's there to help you. It's so scary and you're so anxious and afraid. Then imagine somebody just picked you up and now you're looking at everything from above. You're looking at Jannah and Jahannam and everybody waiting and you're looking at all of it. Now imagine somebody put you between Jannah and Jahannam and dropped you. And he said that, and then I told him, as you were dropping, your salat, the khushu'ah and your salat will determine if you are going to heaven or hell. And he told me, wallahi, I never prayed. And after that, he came to me another week later. He's like, yo, I never prayed another prayer without ever like feeling like my life was on the line. And I never felt so conscious of my salat after that. Like I was just so ready for my salat from that point on. And this, in fact, was advice that Sheikh Mihrab al-Hajj gave to one of his students. One of his students gave to another one of his students. And it's a piece of advice that actually works. Because when people are at the line of like life or death, when they're at like the brink, even an atheist will become a believer. Even an atheist will become a believer. And I really hope that this is something that help you guys out. Having those three understandings, because those three understandings really do provide you with the ability to drastically improve your deen. Drastically improve your deen. Can anybody tell me what the first understanding was? Yes.
First understanding was that God doesn't need you, you need Him.
Why?
Because He created you out of nothing, but out of earth and sand, but you have never done anything for Him. So you need Him, He does not need you.
Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you. Because He created He created the heavens and the earth and everything in between. Why the heck does He need you? Why the heck does He need you? So when you're going out there saying, I have to pray, no. Don't say I have to pray. Say, I need to pray. I need to pray. Because la'alla, that prayer is the one that gets you to Jannah. Is the one that changes your life in this dunya and in the akhirah. La'alla, that prayer is the one that comes to come for you in your grave and when you're waiting for the day of judgment. You never know. Take the opportunities where you find them. What's the second understanding? Yes.
Salah is a privilege, not a right.
Salat is a privilege and not a right. Who thought it was a right? Who thought faith was a right? Bani Israel. Do you guys know who Bani Israel are? You can say it out loud together.
Children of Yaqub.
No, like today, the equivalent of today. Who are they?
Jewish people.
The Jews, yes, the Jews, right? But the Jews of today didn't make that mistake. The Jews of yesterday made that mistake. So don't be like them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them so often in the Quran, and the stories about them are so upsetting and so offsetting. But in reality, He does not want you to be upset, but He wants you to understand so that you get it. So that you don't make the mistakes that they do. And what's the third understanding? In the corner, yeah, and on the back.
Always be thankful.
Hmm?
Always be thankful to Allah.
Why are you thankful?
Because He created you as
Almost there. Yes, Malik, go.
Because he chose you out of everyone on this earth,
Yes.
specifically to be praying to him and worshiping him in the right way.
Yes. Do you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brags about you to the malaika? When you do something good, it's heard in the heavens. It's heard in the heavens. Before you were even created, before you were even a thought. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before He created Adam, what did He say? He told the malaika were so concerned. They're like, are you going to create a human being that's going to are you going to create a creation that's going to ruin this earth and destroy this earth and spread corruption? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded with what? He said, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. And He said, I know more than that which you know. Why? Because He knew that there were going to be people who would get it right, who would get dunya and the akhirah right and balance it. Just as Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu did. He knew that there were going to be a group of people who actually did that. And would be and they would prove the malaika wrong each and every single day. You are the ones who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose in this life to uphold this deen. So uphold it right. Don't just go around and say, I'm a Muslim. Don't go around and say, what's the point of going around and saying that you're a Muslim? Meanwhile, you have like 4 girlfriends because you think that's the sunnah of the Rasul, because 4 wives equals 4 girlfriends. Right? Or you're going around and you're doing all of this haram and you're like people, a lot of times people have issues where they spend many of their time in haram, or they backbite and they lie, or they cheat on tests, or they steal money, or they steal stuff. So you cannot be of those individuals. You cannot be of those individuals. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you, He chose you because you were meant something. Right? So that's something to be grateful for and always grateful for. And that's something to motivate you. That's something to motivate you because you're chosen. He knows you're special. Prove Him right. Prove Him right. Right? Prove everybody else who thinks you're not worth anything wrong, and prove Him right. Because guess what? When you follow His deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever follows my deen, he'll just find benefit and happiness and gratitude in this world and in the hereafter. He will find everything easy to him. Everything will become easy for him or her. Right? Prove him right. Prove him right. And as long as you follow his deen to its core and you protect it, you become a hafiz of the Quran, protecting it and memorizing it. Right? A hafiz of his deen, protecting it and acting upon it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take that into account and He'll make everything else easy for you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything at all? Yes?
What if you go to the mosque not because your parents make you, but because you feel obligated? Like you feel like you have to go.
It is in that instant what are you going to the mosque for? Are you going to pray?
Well, you have to pray and listen to the lecture.
Okay. And did somebody make you, or did you just you mean like you just felt like you had to do it? Then that's something that you need to take into account, right? So your intentions. Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. He said, actions are by intentions, right? And everything that you do is, everything that you ask, everything that you intend for is your direct reward. So if you notice that about yourself, that you're like feeling like you're just like obligated, okay, that's the first step to coming to the masjid. But then what you do is you take those 3 understandings that I just discussed, right? Really trying to digest them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need you, but you need Him. That you need to come to the masjid. That He chose you above everybody else to go to the masjid. Right? He chose you. You're the one who's special enough to sit in this masjid. Out of everybody else, you were the one who came here. That means He chose you. That means He wants you here. It is maktub for you to be here. It is already written. So prove that writing right. Right? You have the ability to do so. He would not just make you feel obligated without properly giving you the opportunity to feel like you need to come. Because once you feel the need to come, that's when your faith will change, and that's when your life will completely change. Does anybody have any questions? I hope that answered your question. Yeah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
You talked about an issue that is harmless then, as a side note, which is you should not look down at others
Yeah,
form of
kibriya, yeah.
arrogance. And if you're thinking like that, it's a psychological thing that kind of happens in the background. Sometimes you're not even noticing it. Now, what can someone do to combat that?
If you, the thing is, like, you need to first begin to understand that you have to have humility, right? You have to begin to build humility and humbleness, right? You have to be humble, right? Part of the thing, part of the etiquettes of a Muslim is him being humble. And how do you begin to feel humble? By remembering the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it does not matter how great you are in this dunya, how much faith. Do you know who was the best worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It was none of you. Right? It wasn't even a human being. It was a shaitan. There wasn't a single place in this world that he did not pray on. Or that he did not pray in. It got to the point where when the jinn were told to like go to the edges of the earth and onto the islands and away from civilization, that he was raised to the heavens. His status was so high, he was like number 2 or number 3. Right? He was up there with Sayyidina Jibreel. But what brought him back down? It was arrogance. He thought he was better than Adam. He thought fire was better than sand. When in reality, he was full of it. He was full of it. Right? It's that sort of humility that even if you begin to it's actually like even if you begin to feel like you are greater than somebody, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will knock you down like 5 pegs. He'll send you something that will really knock you out. And then you yourself will feel terrible. And you'll begin to feel like you're worth nothing. And if you feel like you're worth nothing, that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala believes in you. By the way, if you ever do something wrong and you're punished for it, you should be thankful. Immediately say Alhamdulillah. Say Alhamdulillah before you even say Astaghfirullah. Say Alhamdulillah. Because that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still believes in you. If you do something wrong, if you actually do something wrong and He does not punish you, that means He's forgotten about you. That means He's forgotten about you. That means that's it. You're still off of deen, that's it. He does not care about you anymore. People who disbelieve consistently and try to put down the deen, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will just let them live this dunya. And then the akhirah, they will get what they deserve. And I hope that answered your question. I know I went on a little tangent, but I hope that answered your question. Like the thing about like arrogance is that you need to understand the might of Allah, that He is everywhere, that He is much greater than you are. Allahu Akbar, right? He's much greater than you are. And once you take that into account, that's it. Like you don't need anything else anymore. Does anybody have any questions anymore? Yeah, what's up?
It's a little bit off topic, but if you're a kid and you decide to try to go to Hajj and you complete it, will that count as your fard Hajj?
No, it's nafila for you. It's nafila for you, yeah. But when you're older, you can come back and do Hajj again. And you'll get double the reward as well. You'll get reward compensated for everything that you did. Right? But that does not mean don't go to Hajj. Yes.
Can I say something regarding the previous question?
Sure.
So, I think I wouldn't say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgets about His creation or doesn't care about Him. But I would say there's an ayah in the Quran that says, Nasu Allah, فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُم. Meaning that they forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then He makes them so busy with this life and so that they forget their own selves. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always remembers you, always cares about you, and loves you. But if you don't put that effort, then you will stray. And you only have yourself to blame for that. So always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has got your back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, but you have to place an effort and make some acknowledgement on your side. You have to do something to be on the good graces.
Very well put, mashallah. Does anybody else have any more questions? Yeah.
When you said that the shaitan actually used to worship Allah and play everywhere.
Yeah.
Which shaitan were you talking about?
Iblis. Shaitan, shaitan. Okay. No more questions? Alright. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our hearts and make our hearts capable of even withholding this deen and being raisers of this deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us better worshippers this coming Ramadan and the months after and the weeks after and the days after and the nights after. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue the blessings of this masjid and the blessings of this community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Ammu Tariq and everybody who helps him out here and all of yourselves, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bring blessings and glad tidings to the masjid. Allahumma ameen. صلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وشرف المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.